What we can see behind us is the Earth's shadow. So as the sun has set, the Earth is actually blocking out some of the sunlight. So we get a bright band above, which is the sunlight glancing over the Earth. And what we can see below is that deep blue band. And that's actually the shadow of the Earth projected onto the sky. And it's a beautiful thing. I've never seen it in the UK, and I've seen it in South America. But seeing it here, it's the deepest I've ever seen, and truly beautiful colours.
This is Dr. Maggie Adarin. She's the UK's only black woman rocket scientist. In her varied career, Maggie has worked on missile warning systems for fighter planes, landmine detectors, numerous satellites, and her first love, telescopes, the most recent of which was installed in Chile in 2005. Maggie started out as an astronomer, but her love of space began at a very early age.
I first got interested in science about the age of 6, when I think it's mainly because of the space race, but some of the fantastic images you see about space also just got me really excited. Because I was so fascinated by the stars, I went out and bought my first telescope. And unfortunately, I got it from a shop, and when I got it home, it wasn't very good. So I was really disappointed by that. Then I found in Camden a telescope making class, and it enables you to make your own telescope, which was mind-boggling. I could see the craters of the moon, I could see sort of the rings of Saturn, I could see Mars. The thrill on the first night when you sort of finally set it up, you know, you're waiting for it to get dark because you just want to see what you can see, and then you sort of focus it up and the image sort of comes into focus and you see, my God, and this is something I built. That was a fantastic feeling. I had a little saying which I made up once a while ago, is that, you know, a career in physics, it gives you the keys to the universe, and you can have tremendous fun opening the doors.
Maggie has come to South Africa to explore the SALT telescope. SALT stands for South African Large Telescope. It's found in Sutherland, high in the mountains of the Karoo Hoogland, a full day's drive from Cape Town. Whilst there, Maggie hopes to learn as much as she can about the telescope and how it works.
Just flew into Cape Town yesterday, and we're on our way to the SALT telescope, which is a huge 10-metre telescope. I just want to tell people about what it's like working on it, what other people feel about it, and find out, you know, how it works.
SALT is the largest telescope in the whole of Africa. It also has a lot in common with the telescope in Chile Maggie worked on previously.
SALT will be quite similar. It's actually a larger diameter mirror, but I think the operation of it is different, and that's one of the things I want to find out about while I'm here. But SALT is definitely a world-class telescope, one of the biggest telescopes in the world, and to have that here on African soil it makes me very proud.
Although Sutherland is in a remote area, Maggie still finds the opportunity to indulge her other passion, the natural urge to communicate.
We just stopped off on driving up to the telescope, and we bumped into maybe sort of 5 or 6 kids, I think ranging on age from sort of 15 to as young as maybe 10. I want you to tell me what the stars is in Afrikaans.
I think the stars is in Afrikaans sterretjies.
Okay, let me try. Sterretjies. Is that right? And we also spoke to them about, you know, seeing the stars, because they have such clear skies here with so little light pollution. And also in the southern hemisphere, you really see things like the Milky Way.
The next day, it's an early start for the trip to the telescope. For Maggie, this is more than just a sightseeing tour. It's a chance to get up close and personal with a unique piece of engineering.
You've got the car key. So it's now Monday morning, and we're heading up to SALT for the first time. We're really looking forward to the visit. A number of reasons for coming to SALT. I'm hoping to do a bit of observing this evening, and also just want to see the telescope and talk to the people who work on the telescope. So here we are on what they call the dome floor, with a huge SALT mirror behind me. Now the SALT mirror is 10 metres across, and it's made up of 91 segments. Each segment is about 1 metre across and weighs about 100 kilograms. Now the total system is 100 tonnes, which is a huge beast. Now we've been given privileged access to wander around here, so I'm going to go and investigate further. We've been given special permission to come up here and actually for me to stand on here as the telescope moves around. Now don't forget, this is 100 tons of telescope plus me. Herman, could you move the telescope, please? That's the air being fed into the system to lift the telescope up. Ooh, I'm off. It's really incredibly smooth as I go round. I hardly hear any vibration at all now, but you can still hear that hiss of air. So we've come up here to this amazing height to show you something else that's truly fantastic. What we're going to do is look at what the telescope sees. So Herman's actually going to open the shutter for me so we can see the sky. Herman, could you open the shutter for me, please? It feels really amazing because daylight, blue daylight, is streaming through the telescope and it looks totally different. But the shutter is some huge mechanism. You can really feel it moving. That was an amazing sight. Seeing that whole heavy shutter moving off to one side. And the light comes streaming in, the blue daylight hitting the telescope. And now the whole telescope looks totally different. The dome is lit up with daylight. It's a fantastic sight from up here. Thank you, Herman. Could you bring me down again now? So I've come in here behind the mirror so we can see how one of these amazing beasts really works. Now up above me are the individual segments of the mirror. And we mentioned earlier that there were 91 of these. Now, to control the mirror and make sure that each segment is pointing in the right direction, we use actuators or pistons to control the mirror position. Now, each mirror segment has 3 of these operating, and we've got 91 segments, so that means there's 273 pistons all operating at once. And so all this information is sent to a central computer down below. So you've got 100 tons of instrument working here, and you position the mirrors to a millionth of a millimetre. That's why I find these instruments so amazingly fascinating and so truly exciting. It's early evening now, and the astronomer is setting up the telescope for the evening, and we're going to go inside and have a quick chat. Hi, Nkani. Is this a good time to talk?
Sure.
Perfect, thank you so much. So, what are you doing at the moment?
We're just getting set up for the night. My operator Fred has just finished aligning all of the 91 mirrors to make a perfect sphere.
Yes.
And we're just going to check what the images look like tonight.
Perfect. So what are you observing tonight?
We'll be observing probably some asteroids later tonight. These are pieces of rock essentially that are orbiting around the sun.
You don't do this on your own, do you?
No, I need Fred here, my operator. He's the one that does the telescope lifting, and he's the one that does the pointing.
Hi, Fred. What does it involve controlling a huge telescope like this?
All you need is a very strong index finger
Yes.
to click a mouse button. But
It can't be
yes,
that simple.
you're basically controlling the whole of the telescope with the aid of the computer. On a good night, I don't even have to leave this chair at all.
Yes. Only for coffee.
Only for coffee.
Yes. I always love going to visit telescopes, but this has been truly fantastic. And the people here have been so accommodating. It's been wonderful to hear how the community is behind this project and how much of the equipment inside has been built by people in the local area, and that it's what additional visitors that come and visit the local town. So it's wonderful to see how it's all come together. And yeah, I'd love to come back. My dream would be to build an instrument for the SALT telescope in the future.
Tuesday morning sees Maggie on the road once again for the next leg of her South African adventure, sheep permitting. Word has got out that Maggie is in South Africa, and she's been invited to attend the International Science Festival in Grahamstown on the Eastern Cape. Sadly, there's no time to admire the scenery, as Maggie has a flight to catch. But Maggie's road to success wasn't always an easy one. As a young girl, she struggled with school.
I was always considered quite slow at school. In fact, I think I was in 1 or 2 remedial classes, and I think that's mainly because of my dyslexia. But teachers were very encouraging, and they actually gave me extra lessons because my spelling was a bit of a stumbling block. Often at school, people were saying, well, Maggie, we don't think you're going to do very much. And my father was saying, don't listen to that. If you think you can do it, you have to work hard, but you can achieve what you want.
Once in Grahamstown, Maggie embarks on a frantic round of interviews. First up, it's a phone interview for South African radio show Daytime Talkback, where Maggie reveals her unusual plans for the future.
My plan now is to retire to Mars as an old scientist and to land on the planet and potter around, digging up rocks and looking for life and things like that. So I don't know if I'll make it, but that's my plan.
Without pausing for breath, Maggie's straight into radio interview number 2 for a local radio station.
What would your message be to young girls and boys growing up?
When I was a child, no one thought I was going to be a scientist. But it's having encouragement from others, but having your own internal encouragement. That's what keeps you going. So stoke that fire and keep going, because you can do it.
Maggie then turns the tables and interviews one of the few people with more space experience than her.
I'm here today, I'm so honoured, because I'm here with a NASA astronaut. So could you introduce yourself for us?
Yeah, my name is Don Thomas. I'm a NASA astronaut. I've flown 4 times on the Space Shuttle, 3 times on Space Shuttle Columbia, and 1 time on Space Shuttle Discovery. And I've been a NASA astronaut for the last 17 years or so. The first time the Space Shuttle was taken off and I could feel the push in my back, knowing that we're lifting off, I had this big smile from ear to ear, and I'm yelling like Yahoo inside my helmet because it was so exciting, and I knew the dream of my life is taking place right now. One of the most impressive sights for me, probably from all my missions, has been the burning of the rainforest down in South America. And the smoke pall was almost over the whole continent when I flew over there. You could look, you know, as we passed over like northern and South America, you look off to the south and it's all covered under a haze of smoke, all from the burning of the rainforest.
Thank you. I'll use that in my talk.
Okay.
How do you go to the loo in space?
It's the #1 secret. We don't have gravity to collect
Yes.
the waste material. What we use instead, we have giant fans that are down in the bowl part of the toilet.
Well, that's quite enough of that. Maggie's next assignment is South African TV.
Fabulous Dr. Maggie Adarin Pocock, who is a rocket scientist. So I'm feeling really great about the fact that I get to meet a rocket scientist for the first time.
I found Grahamstown an interesting place. It's not what I expected South Africa to be like. They've been so accommodating and so welcoming. It's been wonderful to be here.
For Maggie, it's time to head back to the UK, where important work awaits. But she's certainly made an impact here in South Africa.
You've got so much fire and passion. Where do you get it from? You're so bubbly. You're awesome.
And people will say that I'm a role model. I must admit, it sort of makes me blush, because I don't see myself as a role model. I see myself as sort of little Maggie, you know, bumbling along with a really bad spelling. But if it helps other people to sort of perhaps get into science, then it's worth it. I like to talk to everybody about science, because science infiltrates so much of our lives today. And with that infiltration, people need to have an awareness of science. They need to know what's happening in science, because otherwise, if they don't, they can't make the decisions for the future. And we can't leave it up to politicians. We can't leave it just up to the scientists. Everybody has to be involved. And to be involved, you need to understand what the issues are.